By the way, Mike, I have to tell you, I couldn't watch that Sully episode for the rehearsal. I couldn't do it. Rob, have you seen this show, The Rehearsal?
No, I've heard you guys talking about it, but I haven't seen it.
When he was dressed as that baby, and he shaved his head
in the giant room,
and she changed the diaper, and the turd came out. I'm so sorry. I turned it off. I couldn't do it. I couldn't finish it. I just couldn't finish it.
I love this so much, man. And that big marionette mother is the greatest thing.
And then they were in the yard, and and they all look disproportionate. I can't do it. I'm sorry, Mike. I love you. I can't watch The Rehearsal. And
it's okay. Most people can't. It's okay. I understand that.
Okay, here we go.
I know. I want to watch it.
Awesome. Well, I mean, it's something.
Hey, you want to watch some TV or something?
Skip it. Well, I'm getting ready to watch a video.
Really? What?
Nothing but foul language and toilet humor.
I'm disgusted and repulsed and I can't look away.
I need these things! I need these things! Tell me, do you want to go? We're stopping on the color line. Oh, no way, Jose. This just in, go to hell.
This conversation can serve no purpose anymore.
Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it!
Hello, friends and listeners. You got Watch Skip Plus. We are a movie review podcast with a lifestyle twist. That twist is after we review a new streaming and theatrical film, we give you a bonus lifestyle review, which can be on anything else. And we started like tipping our hat and letting you know what those are so you guys can stick around. But at any rate, if you're listening to us or watching us on Spotify or home, that's great. Also, if you're on YouTube, we love that too, because I love to add images and do fun stuff on the YouTube channel. But be sure to follow, like, subscribe, leave us a review, leave us comments. We're trying to foster this podcast and YouTube community, so definitely chime in. My name is Jose, also known as Cupcake. I'm joined by my co-host, Mike, the Wildebeest. Looks like we both got the memo about horror-themed t-shirts.
Yeah, right.
Or something. Oh, yeah. And as did our special guest. So, Mike, do you want to introduce our guest?
Yeah. This is Rob Spencer from one of our fellow Podfathers. Do you want to go ahead and explain yourself and tell us more about your show?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. Nice to join. Long-time listener, first-time guest. Very excited.
Yes.
I am Rob. My podcast is Caliber 9 from Outer Space, which I do with my co-host, Joe Oddbar. So we release an episode every week. We format it around a double feature focusing on cult exploitation movies, all sorts of things, horror, action, cheesy 80s comedies, basically anything that's not terribly mainstream. And I was going to say most of it is pre-2000, but actually we've done a few in the last few years. I think the most recent film we did is Stalked by My Doctor, one of those sequels. We did a whole episode on that.
Wow. One of our Podfathers is The Gentleman's Guide to Midnight Cinema. They talk about like Italian crime, Euro. Obviously, you're wearing an Argento shirt. You cover international stuff too as well?
Yeah, definitely. Lots of Italian stuff, I've got to say. A lot of Italian stuff. Japanese, Hong Kong, and American, Ozploitation, all sorts of things. I mean, it's nice. You could never run out of movies, honestly, to talk about. So,
and everything is streaming now. It's great. How many episodes you guys got in?
We only started beginning of last year. We just posted episode 78, which was on Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat.
Nice. So obviously the live action ones, yeah?
Yes. Yeah.
Paul W.S. Anderson and who directed Street Fighter? Steven D'Souza?
Steven D'Souza. Yeah, correct.
And never did he direct anything after that.
Didn't really go right, did it? Let's face it.
Oh, speaking of which, you are from originally Australia, yeah?
Correct. Yes, I live in
Okay.
the UK, but I am Australian. I'm from Sydney originally, but I've lived in the UK for 15 years now.
Okay.
So I've gone native.
Yeah, yeah, you have.
We got a heat wave here at the moment. It's 30 degrees, and I can't handle it. It's too much.
No. Oh God, it hit 94 over here. I was sweating my balls off. Mike, you just came off of vacation. You do have a tan. It does look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to Miami Beach for me and my wife's 15th anniversary, so we spent the
Nice.
week on the beach. It was fun.
Happy anniversary. South Beach. Did you go to South Beach?
Yeah, we stayed at South Beach at the Lowe's, and if you've been there, it's gorgeous, beautiful, wonderful.
Yeah.
We loved it. We did all the fun stuff. We did the Miami Vice Thriller speedboat.
Yes.
We did some other cruises and a bus tour, but for the most part, we just kind of hung out. We ate really, really well. I mean, really well. We're talking
Really well.
hundreds of dollars per meal. Welcome to South Beach. But it was
Yes. Yes. Wait, wasn't the Miami stunt a plot twist in The Fall Guy, which we love?
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
The Miami. I was like, there was a movie that had the Miami Vice stunt show as like a plot point. It was The Fall Guy, but I always feel like a troll when I go to South Beach. Like everybody's so beautiful, and I'm like going into like stalking into restaurants because I'm nuts.
It's the ass capital of America. I mean, so much ass is everywhere.
I know that's right.
Sold.
It's the land of the ass, I'm telling you.
Scattered ass.
Did they put that on their number plates? Florida, land of the ass.
Land of scattered ass. I love it. Let's pitch it. Speaking of scattered ass, maybe. What are we reviewing? Scattered dirty zombie dong. Okay, what are we reviewing?
We are reviewing Danny Boyle's 28 Years Later.
Yeah, the third in the trilogy. So I feel like they were missing 28 months because we got the original 28 days and then we got 28 weeks and suddenly we jumped to 28 years. What happened to months? I don't know. Definitely a lot to talk about with this film. I think that it is quite interesting and not what people will expect, but 28 years later is a reunion of sorts for the original team that put together the first film, 28 Days Later. So not only is the star Cillian Murphy and Jason, we love you. He's a concession and usher guy at Regal. But he kept saying Cillian Murphy, sorry. And I felt bad and I didn't want to correct him right away and be like, it's Cillian, much like, it's not Ralph, it's Rafe. But anyway, Cillian Murphy is an executive producer on this, but our director, DP, and writer are all of the original team for the first film. So we've got our director, Danny Boyle, as you said. I had forgotten that his first film was the film crime noir sort of three roommate tete-a-tete kind of thing, Shallow Grave. And I believe that came out in 94 and it was like gangbusters. I think it got nominated for best foreign film, maybe even the Golden Globes. I think it got the BAFTA for best British film the year that it was actually released. And so very auspicious debut for Danny Boyle, but then he would sort of like set the world on fire with Trainspotting from the novel by Irving. I want to say it's Irving Welsh. I might get that wrong.
Irving Welsh, yeah, that's right.
Irving Welsh, yeah. But that film was not only was it just creative visually, it's sort of controversial subject matter was kind of insane, but just also the number of stars it introduces to. Ewan McGregor, Ewan Bremner, Kevin McKidd was in it. I'm drawing a blank on the what's your name?
Miller.
Yes,
Bonnie Lee Miller and Kelly MacDonald.
That's it. Kelly MacDonald. I was drawing a blank on Miss Boardwalk Empire. But I think what I love about Danny Boyle is that he's definitely tripped through different genres. And so he did, after Trainspotting, I believe he did The Beat. The novel that the movie was based on was written by Alex Garland. And so that's how he kind of hooked up with Alex Garland. But he's tripped through different genres. So we've got 28 Days Later, and then Sunshine, which I think is a completely underrated Danny Boyle film.
Yeah.
It's like it has an environmental bent, but then it kind of turns into Event Horizon. Not entirely successful, but quite the imaginative film. Millions, that was kind of like a kids film.
A kids movie, yeah.
Yeah.
Alright.
And then he's done biopics, Steve Jobs, 127 Hours, about the poor guy that got stuck in between the rocks and had to
Yikes.
do the wolf thing and saw his and then of course Slumdog Millionaire, which won him a ton of awards everywhere, Oscars galore, all of that. So and then he took like sojourns into doing films like Trance, which I would not have put on a Danny Boyle resume, right? And then his last film was Yesterday, that sort of weirdo film where the Indian musician, something happens to him and he wakes up in an alternate reality where nobody knows the Beatles. Rob, how do you feel about Danny Boyle as a director?
Oh, I love him. I mean, he was really formative for me. I toddled off to the cinema and saw Trainspotting when it came out, and that was when I was going to uni. So it just hit that time in the 90s, it just hit the zeitgeist, didn't it? And I was like, this guy is just the best, and I want to see everything. I think I saw Shallow Grave after that when I was checking it out and loved that as well. But yeah, and then his choices after that were really surprising. He did A Life Less Ordinary, which is kind of a screwball comedy, which I didn't get at that age. I think I would like it a lot more now that I've become, because I'm quite a fan of classic screwball comedies now. I need to check it out again. I didn't get it when I was, 20 or whatever I was when I watched it.
Yeah.
He's very 90s and aughts. He's so, you wouldn't call him an experimental filmmaker, but I was thinking watching this film, he is quite experimental. He's always trying something. Sometimes for better, sometimes for worse. But he's got an incredible energy as a filmmaker.
Oh, yeah.
And I rewatched Sunshine actually just recently. And yeah, what a film that is. That is it is, I think its ending where it veers into horror territory that can turn people off.
Sure.
As a horror tragic myself, I love that. And yeah, it's a super impressive sci-fi film.
Yeah. I love that you mentioned experimental, because I think you could say that when you look at certain films, but for the most part, I just love that he wants to try different ways to tell the story, Wildebeest. What's your favorite Danny Boyle film?
Oh, my favorite. That's even harder. Gosh, probably it is 28 Days Later, honestly. I think that probably is my favorite film of his, just because it's so complete. And like a lot of his films, they take these big risks. He does interesting things. And 28 Days Later is a film that you think you're watching a zombie film, but in reality, you're watching a film about how men use their bits of power to try to create sex slaves. Welcome to Weinstein and everything else that's kind of happened after that. 28 Days Later specifically really dives into the darkness of man, and the real scary part in that really isn't the zombies. So I loved that movie, and again, it was my first or second Sundance when I saw it, and fell in love. And then I think the next year, it was either 04 or 05, Millions was at Sundance, saw that as well.
Yep.
And he was there for the Q&A for that, and the little cute boy was. He has a really good eye for finding young actors. Millions is amazing, and the kid in this, gosh.
Yeah, Dev Patel. I mean, in Slumdog Millionaire, it was like, who's this kid? He's great. Rob, do you have a favorite that you keep coming back to for Boyle?
It probably would be 28 Days Later. I would have to say, on first watch, it was Trainspotting that had the biggest influence on me, but I went back to that later. It's still great, but it's time has moved on since then, and I don't think it's necessarily dated, but it just doesn't have the impact on me that it did when I was younger. I don't know. It feels like a younger person's film. Do you know what I mean? Or maybe just that generation's younger person film. Yeah.
As you said, it sort of penetrated the zeitgeist, and there's definitely a style to it. Very music video, the quick cutting, the editing, like that kind of thing. So yeah, it's interesting. It's from a period, even though it's not dated. I don't know. He's a conundrum.
I've got kids in my 20s, and they all love they all dive into that film and Requiem for a Dream. Something about those films really touch folks in their 20s, whether, most people are experimenting with drugs or know friends that are. So those films, I think, are important for 20-year-olds, really, honestly.
Yeah.
It's hard to get the theme of mortality through to someone in their early 20s because you feel pretty invincible. So I think these kind of drug film narratives do it. You're like, oh yeah, okay, that's heavy. Look out for that.
Definitely. Our writer is Alex Garland, and so he started as a novelist. He wrote novels like The Beach, The Tesseract, and then he got into sort of like screenwriting. So we've got this one with Danny Boyle, obviously, that he wrote, and then The Beach as well. But then he sort of branched off and became his own sort of director as well, writing and directing his material. Mike, when I mention Alec Garland as a director, what comes to mind when you think about Alex Garland?
Recently, it's got to be Men. That movie blew my brain cells, and I've watched it twice since I saw it in theaters. That movie just, again, Garland and Boyle, they know how to latch onto a concept, a genre, and then explore themes. And this is very much body horror, but the way that we look at toxic masculinity throughout the film is just powerful. But his films are all, for the most part, fucking fantastic.
Yeah, I didn't know what to make of Garland's Men. We talk about how Sunshine was a little polarizing, but Men was definitely very polarizing. I myself had no idea, like, I still to this day may not even know what it actually means or what it's actually trying to say. That ending is so crazy, but I'm interested to know, Rob, what do you think of when I say Alex Garland as a director? Like, what do you think about what film?
It's astounding how good a filmmaker he is for a guy he was a guy whose books I read before he ever became a filmmaker. And I loved The Beach. I read The Beach in like really short period of time.
Yeah.
And I was aware that he'd worked on 28 Days Later and so on. I didn't think much of The Beach, the film, but it wasn't a particularly good adaptation. But yeah, what was his first film? Was it Ex Machina?
Yep.
That one? I mean,
that was incredible. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
The guy is so classy, and I think I pretty much love everything he's made. I loved Annihilation. I loved Men too. In fact, when I first saw Men, it was so confusing. At the end of it, I thought, I don't think I liked that much, but it stuck with me. And now, I love the film.
Oh my God, I love it too. It's so good.
What's the other one? Civil War. I know Civil War is another film. Speaking of polarizing films.
Yes, that was, again, defied expectations. It was, I think audiences were expecting one type of film. They got something completely different.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest debate about Civil War is it truly apolitical, right? That it's not political. It doesn't take a side, but Garland, his writing is just absolutely amazing. You mentioned Ex Machina, got him nominated for an Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay. Annihilation, that was based on a set of sci-fi novels. I know that wasn't as well received, but it's really great. Men, we did talk about that. Civil War. And then recently, Warfare, which, I mean, like The Hurt Locker, Warfare made me want to hide under my chair. It made me want to vomit in my popcorn bucket. Like, it's an intense experience.
I haven't seen that one yet.
Oh my God.
So good, Rob.
Don't eat before. But so in terms of screenplays, he has written the screenplay for obviously 28 Days Later. He wrote the screenplay for Dread, which I absolutely love.
Love that movie so much.
Oh, good. I think we all appreciate that. And then he went on to also do the TV series on FX called Devs, which starred a lot of people that were actually in films that he's since done. And he's also moved into the producing realm with Never Let Me Go, that film, and then as well some video games. Enslaved, Odyssey to the West. I don't know these things. And then he was a story supervisor on DMC, Devil May Cry. If that's your thing, I think it's exciting.
Video games.
A lot of you. Yes. And then our DP is one Anthony Dodd Mantle. Love, love, love this guy. He is a huge proponent of digital photography. He was using like the red camera, which I'm not a huge fan of. I can see the red camera has this weird blur that I seem to pick up. It's like drives me fucking nuts. Anyway, but
sorry, as opposed to other digital cameras, more so than other digital. Yeah, okay.
Like
you can tell,
like the Arri Alexa or the Sony Cine Alta ones, and the Viper to an extent has a weird blur as well. Michael Mann used the Viper on Miami Vice, which also mixed its media as well. But Dod Mantle started in television, Wallander, and then he was also part of the Dogma 95 movement with Lars von Trier and Thomas Wallenberg. And I believe he also shot films for them, such as Dogville. And in Antichrist, he actually experimented with high-speed photography, slow motion. That movie, I brought my husband to that movie. And again, I got banned from choosing film for like at least a month after Antichrist. And speaking of Dread, Dod Mantle shot that as well, and I just love the look of Dread. When Dod Mantle won the Oscar for Best Cinematography, he actually was the first to win with a digital format versus a film format. So he's from Copenhagen, but again, he's done other films like he shot Trance for Danny Boyle, as well as we talked about Slumdog Millionaire. He shot Millions for Danny, and then this film, obviously. And then he's also worked with some amazing directors. Oliver Stone for Snowden. Oh, he shot T2, the sequel to Trainspotting. Not as entirely successful, but okay. I liked the second part. There you go. Last King of Scotland, he worked with Kevin McDonald. And then Harmony Korine, he shot Julian Donkey Boy. The interesting artist, Harmony Korine. Yeah. And then for our last crew, we've got Young Fathers. I didn't know this. They wrote the score for this. I had no idea. They are a Scottish progressive hip hop group that was formed in Edinburgh in 2008. They have 2 mixtapes, 4 studio albums. In T2 Trainspotting, they actually wrote a song for that movie, which Danny Boyle kind of called the theme of that film, Only God Knows. And he sort of came to them. There's 3 members, Aloysius Massaquoi, Caius Bancole, who, by the way, lived in Maryland for a time. Yay! Shout out to my home state. And Graham Hastings. Those are the 3 musicians for Young Fathers, and this is their first score. I absolutely loved the sort of like jangly music and the like, heart attack type music that they were doing here. It's really, really great. Yeah. Speaking of Anthony Dod Mantle, I'm sorry, let's go back. Rob, when I've mentioned some of the films that he shot, do you have an opinion on Anthony Dod Mantle or the way that he shoots?
Well, he's done so many different styles. He is very experimental. If you think of something like Dogville, that's almost, in a way, you could say it's an anti-cinematography film. I mean, it's
absolutely.
It's anti so many things.
Anti-studio.
To the point where I couldn't finish Dogville when I tried to watch it. I'll have to try it someday. I do appreciate Von Trier, but I was watching that and I just thought, it's just bollocks.
Yeah,
into this. They're one of these things around in a warehouse. Come on.
Yes.
But yeah, you look at what he's done. It's hard to pick a thread in terms of, what
style or anything. Yeah.
Something like Trance, for instance, had a lot of that really kinetic look to it. I mean, Danny Boyle loves that. He loves being expressionistic,
and he loves, he does love that kind of like handheld kind of thing going on, which is always great.
Let me talk about Young Fathers because I'm a fan.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Mike. Go for it.
Their album White Men Are Black Men Too was when I first heard them. That was like a decade ago, and they're really good.
Title.
Yeah, I wouldn't call them
love
hip-hop.
That title.
I think they're more like lo-fi indie underground, sometimes soul. I mean, they kind of remind me of TV on the Radio at times, if you've heard them before, another indie rock group. But they're really good, and you could hear they actually 4 or 5 songs that they sing in it, and I listened to the soundtrack after the score, and God, it is man, is it amazing. The actual songs
Nice.
they have with lyrics are beautiful. So I went through their discography and listened to a few stuff yesterday when I was at the gym, and God, they're so good. So I'm a
Nice.
huge fan. And if you haven't, check out both White Men or Black Men 2 and Cocoa Sugar. Their recent album, Heavy Heavy, is pretty distorted and pretty interesting, and you can see where they were going towards this project. So
Oh,
yeah, big fan.
interesting. So heavy, heavy, but distorted, distorted.
Mhm.
Any thoughts on Anthony Dodd Mantle before I turn to the cast really quick, and then we're gonna dive in to
He's the king
Zombieland.
of handheld. He really is. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I see so many of his films at Sundance. He just knows how to work the handheld. He knows how to work the digital unlike anyone else. So he really is
He's definitely one of my favorite cinematographers like ever. I think of that sequence where whatever the drug was in Dread, where they get high and then everything just goes like glittery, and then like even when she dies, she's high on it and then she's like falling or whatever. Lena Headey, wow, just wow. Okay, so we don't not a lot. I mean, there's not a huge cast to this, which
the cast.
Yeah, so we've got Jodie Comer. I think this entire cast is British, actually, Rob. So yay, kudos to your home country. But Jodie Comer, she started obviously. She's stage actress. She's also done television, most known for Killing Eve, for which I believe she got a BAFTA as well as a Primetime Emmy Award for her role in that, opposite Sandra Oh. We will know her from Free Guy, which, you look at her one woman play and you look at like Killing Eve, and then suddenly it's like Ryan Reynolds movie on my resume. What? But then more to the point, The Last Duel, the Ridley Scott film with Batfleck and Matt Damon. What an odd cast, but I really did like that movie despite the cast. She's great in it. And then that one woman play I talked about is Prima Facie. She was in The Bike Riders. Yeah, she played a very unlikable woman in The Bike Riders, which was kind of an unlikable film. So there you go.
She has not done a lot of films yet, really, has she? She's made, I know from TV, she was in a series called Dr. Foster, the British series here. That's really good. So it's this successful doctor, a woman doctor in a town in England, and her life is perfect, right? And then she's trying to find something in the boot of her husband's car. She lifts up the bottom of it, and there's a mobile phone in there, and it's full of all these texts of like really hot, sexy texts of this woman he's having an affair with.
Oh.
But then she finds out that absolutely everyone knows about it except her, and it sort of becomes a kind of a revenge thing. It's really, really good. Yeah, Jodie Comer is like the other woman in that, the one the husband's having an affair with.
Oh, okay. I gotta check that out. Apparently, she was also in some miniseries called 13, for which she got a lot of acclaim.
Yeah, I've never seen that one, but I've heard of that. Yeah.
Okay, got it. I always conflate Jodie Comer with, I think the actress's name is Betty Gilpin, who was in like
They look so
The
similar
Hunt.
in The Hunt.
Oh, they do. Yeah.
Or whatever. And so I was like, The Last Duel. I'm like, oh, from The Hunt to The Last Duel, this girl's really achieving. And it's like, no, they're two different people. Mike, how do you feel about Jodie Comer?
I'm not really that familiar with her outside of The Last Duel and then this, and she has a small role as Rey's mother in, I think, the first one of the Star Wars movies, the last one. But yeah, she's really solid in that. Yeah, she had a small role, but she's really good in this. So yeah, if she can keep doing stuff like this, I am interested in seeing more. She was, yeah, we'll get more into it, but
nice.
She was really good.
Another UK actor, we've got Aaron Taylor Johnson. He of the somewhat controversial marriage, because his wife is considerably older than him, Sam Taylor, now Sam Taylor Johnson. But they worked together. Some say it's all where it started. The film Nowhere Boy in 2009, where it was his breakthrough performance. It was a biopic on John Lennon. We obviously know Aaron Taylor Johnson from things like Kick-Ass, which I think is where he landed on most of our radars. He's been in Savages, which I think is an underrated film. I love that. It's very, of course, it's very sexual and it gets naked, but it's actually really good, a good movie. Godzilla, Anna Karenina. He cropped up in Tom Ford's film Nocturnal Animals, playing a bizarre trailer trash character that I actually rather enjoyed. He's been in Bullet Train, The Fall Guy, Nosferatu. I kind of feel like he can do anything pretty much. Love that guy. Love that guy. And I even enjoyed Kraven the Hunter, folks. Wildebeest, Aaron Taylor Johnson, what do you think? And you're frozen.
Yawn.
Oh no.
It's
Wildebeest.
frozen for me too. Yeah.
Ah, bollocks.
Either that or he's just on strike. He's just going to refuse to answer. Like, do you hit a nerve with the Aaron Taylor?
Who knew? Oh my God. Or maybe he can just stand, maybe he can sit still really well. Oh, it says massive power outage just occurred.
Oh no.
Oh. Oh no, he's gonna join us from his phone. Power outage, Jesus. That's too much.
That was
oh my God. Yeah. I mean, good for Aaron Taylor Johnson for, being a working actor. I forgot to mention he's part of the MCU too, which not
he was
really though, because he died. Didn't he die?
Yeah, he's hardly in it. Yeah, Quicksilver, I think. Yeah.
Yeah,
he didn't get much of a Quicksilver didn't get much of a run in MCU.
Love it.
See what I did there?
I did. It was good.
I don't know about that.
Oh.
It's thank you for laughing anyway.
It's great. It's great.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes. Okay, Mike, what are the chances a massive power outage happens? Wow.
That was scary. It sounded like a transformer blew up. We got a major power station, maybe a half mile from us, and all of a sudden it was like boom, and I have this big bay window right here, and it sounded like a fucking bomb, and it rattled. So I don't know.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Yeah,
hang on, I'm just
so anyways, let's keep going. If I cut out, you guys can finish the show, but I'll try to do my best.
So we were talking about coming back from your massive power outage, which hopefully there are no rage zombies going through your neighborhood in about 10 minutes. But we were talking about
the first thing I thought of. I was like,
oh shit, it's starting in Utah, the zombie apocalypse. Aaron Taylor Johnson, what do you think about Aaron as your neighborhood burns down?
I'm a big fan. Kick ass, and then I'm sorry, I'm a little bit discombobulated as my heart rate is still kind of going.
As you should.
Johnson, huge, and he was good in this as well.
Excellent. Rob, your thoughts on Kick-Ass himself? I feel like I'm always going to think of him as Kick-Ass, no matter what he does.
Except, you know what? That's how I used to always think of him. But then at a certain point in his career, he just hit the gym. The guy's massive now.
Yeah, totally.
Serious feelings of inadequacy watching Aaron Taylor Johnson play. Not as much as another certain character in this film, which we will get to, running about the place with no clothes on.
Yes,
but
exactly.
and he started playing these really outrageous characters, like in Bullet Train and The Fall Guy. I like this dialed up, hammy sort of version of Aaron Taylor Johnson. I've got to say, he's not doing that so much here. This is a more grounded sort of a performance here. But he's solid. He's a good actor.
Next, we have in a very young role, child actor Alfie Williams. Not a lot on him, basically. I think he had a small role in His Dark Materials, which I'm still trying to get to because I think The Golden Compass was interesting, if not a weird failure as a movie. And so I know this is based on the novels, but I hear it's amazing. So not a lot in here. Basically, he played Ghost Theo in His Dark Materials, and this is his first film. I gotta say, for his first film, I couldn't tell it was his first film. Apparently, his father is also an actor, Alfie Dobson. He's from Newcastle. But yeah, thoughts on Alfie? Anybody?
I don't
He was
know.
great.
I've seen the first season of his Dark Materials, but I don't remember seeing him in it. And I kind of bailed on that because it got just a little bit too slow for me.
Oh no.
Most people love it. Don't listen to me. I was a bit like, yeah, boring. But I'm not. I'm
Right.
definitely not. I get like that with most long form series. So I watch
Okay.
movies mainly. I think it's my attention span. It's just like
Yeah.
get on with it. Is this ever going to end? And quite often they don't. They just want a new season every time. I need that arc.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's terrific in this. Really
Oh,
great.
yeah.
I don't know how old he is. I guess he's what?
Wow, he's 14. What?
Wow.
That's incredible because I happened to go see How to Remake Your Dragon, the live action film, and there's a young actor in that film, Mason Timms. I think that's how you pronounce his name. But I was like, I'm looking at the next Tom Holland or Tom Cruise. And I kind of feel the same way about this kid. I'm like, it's the next Tom Holland or Tom Cruise. So yeah, anyway, he's really good. Okay, coming up as our last cast member that I'm going to mention until we hit spoilers, Rafe Fiennes. I'm not going to say he's gone the Russell Crowe route, which is to say that, Russell Crowe is having this weird late career resurgence where it looks like he's just doing movies and having a blast. I feel the same way about Rafe Fiennes. Like he's doing these films and having a blast, but obviously it's the art that he's doing or whatever. But sometimes I just want to see him in something screwball and let loose. Obviously, Rafe Fiennes, I had to eject him from my Spank Bank because of his role in Schindler's List as that horrible Nazi. But we know him from things like The English Patient, Made in Manhattan. He did a fucking Jennifer Lopez movie, folks.
That's right.
And he's worked with Wes Anderson, The Grand Budapest Hotel. Recently, The Memo. He's worked with Luca Guadagnino, A Bigger Splash with Dakota Johnson. And then recently, of course, Conclave, which I saw that film and I was like, God damn, that was great. It was like a mystery thriller. Am I ever going to see a Conclave in my real life? And then that happened. But yeah, how do we feel about Rafe Fiennes, folks? Rob, what do you think?
I love Rafe Fiennes. I think he's amazing. My daughter has got really interested in, modern history, and she's learning about the Holocaust and stuff like that. So she wanted to watch Schindler's List. And I mean, it's a great film. He is the best thing in that film. I think he is absolutely incredible. I mean, he's terrifying in that film.
Terrifying and despicable. When I saw that film, I actually had to step out into the lobby. Like I could not.
Oh, it's heavy.
It was the hospital scene. I just was like, no, I'm going to come back. Whatever.
Yeah,
but
fair enough too.
But like, I feel like Rafe Fiennes can do anything, right? I mean, he was, when I think of him too, I'm always like, what is it? The Campbells when they've transformed. Do you see? Like Red Dragon when he played
he's good in
the serial killer or whatever. Yeah. But then he's done like animated films, Coriolanus, all of that stuff. Yeah. Wildebeest, what do you think about Rafe Fiennes?
He's brilliant. I think he's a great actor, and he's won an Academy Award, right? Or nominated? Remind me.
I'm sure. I think he won for Schindler's. He had to.
Did he? He may have done. I don't know. I can never remember who's won an Oscar and who hasn't.
But he always creeps up in shit. Like wasn't he like he cropped up as the new? I mean, he's the new M now, right?
Yeah,
in Bond. Obviously, we don't speak his name in Harry Potter or whatever. Like he's just in everything. Yeah.
Oh, God, I completely forgot he was Voldemort too. Yeah. So he's everyone. Everyone has seen hours and hours of Rafe Fiennes. I think you'd have to be living your life under a rock not to have seen Rafe Fiennes in something.
Yeah, I feel like you could throw a stone through IMDb and you land on a Rafe Fiennes film, right? Yeah, exactly. Okay, here we go. I am dying to hear your thoughts on this film because let me just say it defied expectations for me. But I will start with our guest, Rob, from Caliber 9. What are your spoiler-free thoughts on 28 years later?
Yeah, I went in. I was given the steer to expect the unexpected, so I wasn't too shocked about where it went. And I think before getting into spoilers, we don't want to overplay how how different this is, there is still plenty of zombie action, guys. Like it's a good zombie movie. The thing with Danny Boyle that I mentioned before, his urge to be experimental and try things. There are certain things in this film that I just had a real issue with, but you put those aside, I kind of loved the rest of it. So it's such a weird feeling. It's got incredible strengths. It's a really compelling narrative. It's unconventional in terms of its flow and its treatment of characters and how they work. It's mostly we've got like two distinct acts in the film, and it's got some moments where I'm like, "What the fuck? What are you doing?"
Yes, I love those moments.
Yeah. So, yeah, really interesting. Enjoyed it a lot.
So, did you notice a thread? Obviously, this is the third in a trilogy. You'd seen the prior films, obviously. Did you revisit them before watching?
No, I haven't, but I've seen them many times. So
okay.
I feel I needed to.
Did you feel a thread, or how does this stack up with the other two?
Well, I mean, narratively, it's a bit odd because it seems to retcon the second one, right? Because doesn't the second one end with zombies getting into Paris or something?
It does.
Yep, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
the closing shot is that it had spread beyond UK.
Yeah. So that doesn't seem to have happened here.
Yeah.
There's no mention of that. So that was sort of slightly confusing. But I mean, I don't really care about canon and narrative consistency between sequels and that kind of thing. But there's definitely a thread. It's good to see Boyle in charge again. I love 28 Weeks Later nearly as much as I love 28 Days Later. But there's just something that Boyle brings. I think it's the editing, it's the experimentalism, it's also his use of music. Just amazingly atmospheric. It's like, I'll never forget that scene in, the central scene in 127 Hours, that everyone knows about, the true story of the guy that cut his arm off. Yeah. I still think that's one of the most amazing pieces of cinema ever, because it's just like, it felt painful to watch.
Yes.
It's like, and it was the sonic assault, the way he used music and sound in that, really incredible stuff. So I think we get a lot of that here. I haven't really been that excited about a Danny Boyle film for a while. I really disliked Trainspotting 2. Couldn't sort of cope with that. Felt really disappointed by that one. And I don't think I've seen that much since.
Most recently it was Steve Jobs and Yesterday. And so Boyle had sort of like laid low,
Yeah. I didn't even realize Yesterday was a Danny Boyle film because it sort of looked, I haven't seen it, so I can't comment, but it didn't look, I don't know, way out and interesting enough to be a Danny Boyle film. But
right,
exactly. Maybe it's more interesting than I think. But yeah, I thought it had an incredible atmosphere to it. I think it's interesting that he's really drawing on some very British mythology here. He's really playing up the kind of, it's almost like ancient cults with the sort of society we're dropped into. This idea of primal Britain, which is an interesting one because I can say as an expat Australian who's lived in Britain for 15 years now, it's such an odd place because it's so very polite and genteel, but there's a real kind of we know there's a brutal history here, and you get stuff like football hooligans and stuff like that. You'll get these sudden outbursts of just insane violence that happen from time to time. So these kind of explorations of primal Britishness, which he really plays up, and he's putting excerpts of stuff like Henry V in there and that kind of thing to sort of show this is all about Mother England or Britain. It's odd. He's trying something, like he always does. He's always trying something new. Doesn't always work for me in this film, but by and large, I think it's a really interesting addition. And the worst thing that we could have got from a belated sequel to a film property that people love is something that's just trying to do fan service or is just trying to do the same thing over and over again and say, remember 28 Days Later? I mean, this does not do that at all, but I wouldn't have expected Boyle to ever do that.
Yeah, those are really good points. And I thank you for that sort of UK perspective, because I when those scenes come up, and we'll talk about them in spoilers, but when those scenes come up about you know, these shots of like old-timey assaults on castles and you know what you had mentioned, I was kind of like, what am I to make of this, right? Uh so two more questions and then I'll ask Mike to go. One, any performance that really stood out to you from this? Because I think from the trailers, I was surprised a certain actor didn't have a more prominent role. We'll get to that in spoilers, but any performances that stood out to you for this?
Well, without doubt, Alfie Williams is the heart and soul of the film. He carries the film. He really is the lead. And he just makes it look quite easy and effortless without it being, and it's not one of those child performances which is a child being really good at acting like an adult. You know, we get that a lot. You know, if you think of the early Dakota Fanning performances and that, she was always old beyond her years, and that's what everyone liked. Or Haley Joel Osment, someone like that. Whereas he's a kid. He's acting like a kid. He's got the weight of the world on his shoulders, dealing with some really heavy stuff, and he gets that across beautifully in his performance, I think. So he would be the absolute standout of the cast for me. But I've got to say, I loved every scene with Ray Fiennes in it.
Oh my God, me too. Me too. He's so good.
Yeah.
He's so good. I mean, when he showed up, it was like, I don't know, it was like the movie got an extra jolt of rage. It was great. It was great. It was great. And then my last question to you is, and I'm so sorry to say this because I know that you love the first movie. To this day, I still feel like the first film, 28 Weeks Later, has major third act problems. And major third act problems in the sense that when all of that stuff starts to go crazy with the military outfit, it's kind of like, shit, that's what all this was leading up to. Like this is the thesis of the film. And to me, it's still disappointing considering how that film, I mean, he went rogue. He made a zombie movie road trip film, right? In that first film, but then it becomes more conventional in that third act. My question is, do you think that this film has third act problems?
I think
aside from the wacky ending, which we're going to talk about.
It's got a weird structure to it. So I was trying to think, is this a 3-act structure? Because it's definitely two halves. Like the two halves are so different because we've just got, well, I won't go into it, but there's different characters in the first and the second half. And Ray Fiennes, I don't think, comes into it till the second half, really, does he? So it totally changes. It goes somewhere right at the end where I was literally in the cinema saying, "What the fuck?"
Yes.
And I have no idea still what to think of it. It sort of depends what happens next, I think.
Yeah. As it were. Okay. Yeah. Wildebeest. I'm excited. What you got? Spoiler-free thoughts?
Spoiler-free thoughts is I had no idea I was going to be this emotionally moved by a zombie movie. And I kind of had conversations with our friend Matthew, Jared, about how the 28 films, 28 days, weeks, years, they're not really zombie movies per se. I mean, Danny Boyle never mentions the word zombie. He doesn't want you to think that these films are zombie films, because it's really about what fear, what humanity does to us all. And so this film, for me, because I've dealt with a lot of recent death, is all about death again, and how we need to stop forgetting about it. We need to embrace it. We need to realize it's a part of life. It's a part of the cycle. And fear and love and death are what we live for. And this movie really hit home those themes for me. It did feel very much like a pilot to a TV show, which I thought was weird, like an extended television series, especially the way that the third act. But I mean, Danny Boyle's always had third act problems. I mean, go back to how everything changes in Sunshine or whatever. That totally turns into a slasher movie, from a sci-fi film to a slasher film, the third act. Millions turns into way too sappy at the end. So, I mean, yes, there are third act issues with this, but I kind of loved where the third act went until that crazy finale, which I think we'll talk about in the spoiler section. But yeah, this was emotional, man. I was an emotional mess throughout the whole film. I felt the weight of the world on this kid's shoulders. And dang, if he's not amazing in it, just absolutely blew me away. And yes, once Ray Fiennes joins, that second half is much stronger than the first 30, 40 minutes. And then we have that sweet, kind of bittersweet ending, and then that crazy finale. But overall, I was really moved by this. I was probably in the right sort of mind that I needed to be. I didn't want a zombie movie. I was kind of expecting to not like this, honestly. I was like, not knowing if I'm in the mood for this. It's like, God damn it, did it move me in ways that I shouldn't have felt. I felt it in my bones, and I bawled. I was in fucking tears, you guys. That ending really just got to me. I can't wait to get more into the Bone Temple in the sequel. But are you guys kind of a little bit concerned that we have so much story left and there's only one film? We don't even have a third film greenlit. Like, we don't even know if there's going to be a third film, and there's no way they're going to be able to tie everything up in a second film, which we already know is done.
Actually, so there is. They have greenlit a third film. Danny Boyle's going to direct that one.
Good.
But you are correct. This is part of a planned trilogy in terms of using this film as a jumping off point, kind of like Justin Lin did with Fast 4, 5, and 6. It was like a planned trilogy. And so, yeah, Nia DaCosta has already filmed production wrapped on the sequel. Nia DaCosta, as many know, directed The Marvels, my favorite film ever. Sorry. But she also was behind the Candyman reboot produced by Jordan Peele. So exciting filmmaker, really excited to see what that second one is. But yeah, I don't, just to address your question, who knows what's going to happen, right? Hopefully we get the full trilogy, because I think it would be a mistake if we only got the sequel, almost like this trilogy, right? I was like, we're never going to get another one because this one was just kind of lame, 28 months later just felt like it tried to open up the universe, but it literally was just a disaster film. That's all.
Weeks later, the second one.
The 20 months? Was it months?
Weeks.
Oh, weeks.
Yeah.
Oh, God, sorry.
It was like a disaster film. You're right. I got to say, I had a weird reaction when I heard that there was 28 years later was coming out. I got really excited. Then when I heard they'd filmed 2 films at the same time, I felt weirdly deflated, and I'm not sure why. I think I'm worrying that I don't want it to get too big, that it gets out of control. Like you were saying, like, is there too much to tie together? Mike, It's a bit like, I always think of the one I always think of is The Hobbit, and it was like, we're going to do The Hobbit, and now it's going to be 3-hour films. It's like,
6
really?
films. Yeah, I know, right? Or even the whole like, come for the final chapter because we're splitting it in 2, and it's like,
oh, yeah. I mean, I like Harry Potter, but Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1 is such a drudge of a film because it's a dark book anyway. You're only getting the first half. It's like,
right.
Oh, God.
I felt the same way about Hunger Games, and then we never got a second Divergent 3, whatever the fuck that was called. I don't know.
Yeah. You just worry about stuff like that. But sorry, Mike, just to go back to your point about the grief, it's a really good point. The other thing too, that is a thread between these 3 films, but definitely between the first and this one, is family and the idea of familial grief and trauma.
Yeah.
It's because I don't know if you guys have seen 28 Days Later recently or not, but on a rewatch for me, one of the bits I'd forgotten that I really love is there's the scene where Cillian Murphy goes home and finds his parents who've passed away, and that's really, really sad. But then later on, when they get away and they're camping in these ruins, which actually I live down the road from, they're just up the road from me. Those ruins where they filmed that, yeah. Wow. And he's asleep, and he has this nightmare. His nightmare is not of zombies or infected; it's of waking up and everyone's left him because there is no family. And then when when Brendan Gleeson nudges him, he's like, "Oh, sorry, Dad, I'll get up in a minute." It's like it's the idea of people need family. So that's very strong in this too. That's kind of what this is all about.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Any other spoiler-free thoughts, Mike?
I really loved this. I mean, that's all I can say now. We have a lot to go over in the spoilers, but I loved it. Mets
Yeah.
and all, I loved
Nice.
it.
Nice. Okay, so my spoiler-free thoughts on this. I was expecting a zombie movie on the lines of 1 and 2. And I gotta say that I'm a little worried that, Rob, like you said, there are definitely zombie sequences that are tense. If you're coming for that, unfortunately, they're not as voluminous as the other films. And so I think,
Yeah.
I think what I'm worried about is people will see this, and because they were expecting something crazy like Dawn of the Dead, but instead got Day of the Dead. So I'm drawing a comp to the third of the Romero Dead movies, because Day of the Dead, which happens to be my favorite, they amped up the drama. They talked about the future. Where was this heading? What can we do with the zombies? And it only really lets loose with the zombie stuff in that final act, when it becomes a disaster movie in some ways, right?
Boy, does it though. There are some great zombie movies at the end of Day of the Dead though. Oh, man.
I know. But this is a lot like Day of the Dead, like in a way, in the respect that it is so different and a complete departure from the other three films. But what I love about this movie, and it's what I love about 28 Days Later, the original film, is that it's a reinvention of the zombie movie. So 28 Days Later, when we think about zombie movies, the thing that really sticks with me, at least with the Romero trilogy, is that this whole thing about the zombies really are just us. They're a metaphor for where we're headed in terms of society and all of that. And what I love about the first film is that it truly reinvented that. In its third act, it was so brazen about how terrible human beings were that it was like, oh my God, we are just like these rage zombie people. It's all consume, fuck, buy, destroy or whatever. And I love that about that film. Even if that third act went so in your face, it was like, I got it, folks. I really did. But what I love about this film, and also 28 Days Later, is, like you said, Boyle loves to throw so many things into his films. And so there was the family aspect, or the surrogate family aspect of, this apocalypse happens. What are we going to do? They find the Brendan Gleeson character who automatically becomes like their dad. Come on in, have some tea, this and that or whatever. And he's so sweet, right? Yeah. But what I love about 28 Years Later is that it is such a departure, but it recontextualizes the zombie apocalypse by showing us this vision so far into the future that it's almost like it's a new post-apocalyptic type of film, where we've started society all over again. We've created our own rules. But what's awesome about this movie is that we've seen all of that shit before, right? Where post-zombie apocalypse or post-some apocalypse, we're starting, and we have to reestablish the rules of society. They drop us in the middle of this, but what it essentially becomes is almost like this weird vision quest for this young man who is growing up not knowing about things like cell phones, or they mentioned something else and he's like, what? Right? And it's a completely different universe. And we see it through the lens of this kid who, this society, their mark of becoming an adult is not getting a first job or driving their first car. It's going out and killing a zombie. It's learning to be a survivor. It's, it's this whole reinvention of the post-apocalyptic movie, which I was thoroughly on board for, even if it didn't have a lot of the sort of zombie attacks, because that first half really feels like that sort of vision quest kind of thing. But then where it goes from that, and the sense of family and his sort of mission in helping a family member, I mean, it just gets so metaphorical and out there. And what are we going to do with like our society and what happens to the zombies? I just thought the story was so brilliant, and the fact that they just defied our expectations. And I think that's going to be a crutch for some people. But I talked to two people, shout out to Brandy and Adam, after the screening, and they had not seen or at least Brandy had not seen the other two films, but they were interested to go back. And so we've been talking about this in our spoiler-free thoughts about where's this going to go? We need to see what the next movie is like. I still think there's a complete vision here. If you shove off that tag, I'm going to call it a tag. It really should have come after the credits. I'll tell you, this ending that we're all going to talk about. I think there's a complete vision here, and it really could have ended with just that, right? Yeah. But I'm excited for the other two films. Really, really strong performances from everybody, especially Alfie. He's so good. Jodie Comer is amazing in this. And then when you find out what's really going on with her, and then you think about, you know, just how far we've come as a society and what would happen if it all just went the fuck away and we had to start over again. I think that's the power of this script, right? Are we going to repeat our history, or are we going to try something different or new, even if that means we won't have the science and knowledge to save us from certain things that are just that we take for granted. Yeah, it's definitely a bold vision. There's a lot going on here. It's very cerebral. It's definitely a thinking man's zombie movie. But there's definitely enough horror there to also satisfy horror fans, I think. So yeah, it's a huge watch for me. Like, don't miss it in the theaters. It has that scope. Dodd Mantle is, again, I love him, so I'm not going to go on and spooge all over him, but it's brilliant the way that this has been shot and filmed, and it's pretty amazing. Also, I love that.
Scary too. It's still scary. I mean,
it's still scary, but I just love how these characters come in and they provide exposition without feeling like they're providing exposition.
Yeah,
that makes sense. It's great stuff.
Organic.
It's good stuff. Yeah, very organic. Thank you. Wildebeest, to watch for you, yeah?
A watch. Hard.
Definitely. Rob?
Yeah, definite watch.
Excellent. Okay. If you have not seen Danny Boyle's 28 Years Later, we're going to spoil this faster than you can say zombie dick in 3, 2, 1. So first of all, let me just start with this. You know, I say this all the time, right? The beginning shows you essentially what you need to know about the rest of the film. And so I'll just do the setup and then we'll get to the really important stuff that we want to discuss. So in the beginning of the film, obviously it's mid-rage zombie kind of thing. And there are all these kids who are watching the Teletubbies, but they have these concerned looks on their faces. They're in a room. You can hear things in the background. And then somebody barges in. There's another kid that they drop in there. Everybody stay in here or whatever, this and that or whatever. And then, of course, the zombies come in and they eat kids. Like, oh, it's insane, like that opening. But to me, I think what this is about is, like Rob said, it's about family. But I think the core thesis of this is how far we go as a society and as parents in shielding our kids from the really ugly things that we do as human beings. And so, because, as I said before, Garland and Boyle have sort of recast the zombie movie as this post-apocalyptic movie, what we are now seeing is if all of that gets bombed back to primitive, no more medications, no more, polite society, different rules, how does that change our approach to letting kids know about violence, letting our kids know about what it is to kill, and whether that should or should not be an emotional thing? Because we see Alfie coming up and it's like, yeah, go out there and kill and this and that. And he comes back from the hunt where, his father sort of had to save him. And his father boasts to the rest of the village, oh, my kid's a killer. Like, look at his big swinging dick. He killed the zombie. And he confesses to his grandfather, it's all a lie. I wasn't like that or whatever. I'm probably not articulating it very well, but just the screenplay is great with these showing us these things of how normal relationships and rites of passage and societal things change when it all gets bombed back to like primitive means. And any thoughts on that until we move on to like the stuff we really want to talk about?
Yeah, to that point. So the whole first act is set up as the father taking the son for this coming of age trip to the mainland where he needs to learn to kill. I was actually sort of surprised. I thought they would be going over to get supplies or wood or something, but they didn't really seem to need to do that. They were just out to kill something. So,
well, I think they said that after all of those years, it just wasn't useful to go out and risk their lives getting like stuff, and they had grown everything there, so they didn't need to do it.
The mother character is lucid enough for a while there because obviously she's suffering with a terrible illness. And can't really remember what's happened, but she argues that he shouldn't go because he's too young and that kind of thing. And so it's the father pushing the son out there, and it's all about teaching him lessons about some, ugly truths of reality of being an adult. So he does all that, but he comes back. But of course, the ugly adult truth he then later learns is that his dad is cheating on his mum, and that's the thing that it just disconnects them completely. So it's this idea of, well, your kids have got to grow up and you've got to show them how things work and you've got to show them the realities of the world. But sometimes that's not something that that you want to teach or that you want to them to do. Things you don't want your kids to do that you do.
Yeah, totally. It seemed to me like the script is also talking about these ideas of core morality that will still stick around even if society crumbles, right? And we have to reestablish our own sort of rules. There's still right and wrong. Like, even if the lines are blurred in terms of, hey, I'm going to teach you how to brain somebody, there's still core things like you don't cheat on your spouse. I don't know. It's such a deep story. More so, you can enjoy the superficial thrills, but there's so much deeper to that.
Tons. And it's all in the clues. Like, even the fact that his father is so brazen about this affair that he's having, doesn't seem to worry. No one else seems to care. This is the other thing with these sort of more, pre-industrial sort of societies that they've gone back to, is they could be very transactional as well. I mean, his wife, everyone seems to think, well, she's done for. She's ill. We don't have medicine anymore. There's nothing we can do for her. I think before medicine, we had a very different view as a species towards that kind of thing, and it could be probably pretty cruel. It could be that, well, you've got to, that member of the tribe is going to be no more. So this guy, he's a productive, procreative male. He needs to start thinking about the next steps, that kind of thing. This is all stuff that we have moved away from as a society.
Right.
So it's sort of, it's very subtly done, I think. There's a lot of really subtle stuff here. Like, even you said the opening with the kids watching Teletubbies. There is so much storytelling going on in there without anyone saying anything. Just from the kids' reactions, you're like, okay, this is not the beginning of the outbreak because the kids are terrified. So they know something. It's really neat stuff. It's really, really good writing.
Yeah. Extraordinary.
It is.
Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into that. I almost said stupid ending. I'm sorry. All right, so let's dive into the ending. Wildebeest, do you want to set it up for our audience?
Yeah. So basically, it all comes back around. So it ends where it begins. So in the beginning, there's the kid that survives that doesn't get eaten. His name is Jimmy. And we keep seeing all this stuff throughout. There's somebody who's being hung up and he's got Jimmy cut into his chest. So the whole time we're like, what is this Jimmy? Who is it?
Right.
What's
and then there's the
going on
graffiti
here?
that says, Jimmy. Yeah.
So we keep getting all this. And then all of a sudden in the very end, boom, here comes this, looks like Jimmy Seville. I mean, that's
it does.
obviously what they were doing, right?
Yes.
So that's
obviously
man.
It's like a cross between Jimmy Savile and Andrew Tate or something.
Yes. Played by Jack O'Connell, who was recently like the baddie in Sinners. But we also know Jack O'Connell from other films like Unbroken, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, so he shows up. What happens?
So he shows up, and we get the ending, which I think the ending of the film, we find out the mother has cancer, and the bone temple itself is a memory of death and life. I love that whole concept about how we, again, I hate that we don't have more time, because I could talk for hours about this film, what it is to be a father, how we have to lie as parents, and
there's so much going on.
What is it like to get that first lie, to realize you're being lied to? I mean, I remember that feeling. And then you see it, and the father having to lie. And then of course, Jimmy's father, going back to the beginning, he runs to his father, who is in a church. He's a preacher of some sort. And he's basically, this is the end. We've been waiting for this. And he allows the zombies to kill him. And so now Jimmy is all fucked up, because there's so much stuff about fathers. Go back to Comer, keep seeing her son being her father, the importance and core memories. There's a lot about core memories. So what is a core memory? How does it make you as an adult act and react? Well, Jimmy is who he is. So him and his cult show up. They kill a bunch of zombies in probably the goriest fashion, with some crazy Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, all in colors like Teletubbies.
First of all, they're wearing weirdo, like Mandarin-esque tracksuits, and they like do these full twisting, like 1.5 gainer things off of a cliff, and they've got weapons. Like I said, it almost looks like Kick-Ass. Like it looks like a Matthew Vaughn film, and I'm just like, what is this? And you're right. They were very Power Rangers. Like each one has a separate color. They've got these blonde wigs on, so they all look uniform. And then he's got that cross that's upside down, which we had seen in the beginning of the film, where, the father is sort of like crazy. And I guess he's just like, this is our judgment day. But you see the upside down cross. And so, the Jimmy guy shows up, and he's just like, "Hey, I'm Jimmy," or whatever. We should also set up the fact that, like, he realizes mom basically just needs palliative care, basically, to die, because there's no medicine to help with cancer. And the boy decides that he's not going to go back home, that he's going to continue his vision quest, and he's just going to sort of like live off the land and maybe see what is out there. And so again, just sort of reinforcing this, what are our societal milestones when everything gets like bombed to shit and there's no more medicine, there's no more technology. Are you going to be the complacent person who's just like, I'll just do whatever, procreate or whatever? Or do you want more? Do you want to learn more about your life, even though it's all ensconced in sort of like the village itself? And so there's a lot that they're playing with here, but that ending I was just like, oh my God, why? And so I guess the sequel will be about Jimmy and this weird anti-religious cult or something like that. But to piggyback on what you had said, Wildebeest, there was a zombie that's like hung upside down, and the father is like, oh, why don't you get close to a zombie? Like, this is what it's all about. But you can see that somebody's carved a name into his back. And I don't think it even tells you fully it's Jimmy. You just see like Immy.
You don't even see the J, correct.
But then later in the film, they're walking by, and there's something that says like, I don't know, it was like, hello, you are in hell or something like that. But then it says, hello, Jimmy. And then the rest of whatever the phrase was. And I was like, the fuck is this Jimmy? Why do I care about this fucking Jimmy? This also brings up the fact that this script is so loaded in terms of the things that it's trying to get across to the audience, that the beginning portion of that religion sort of aspect of it, we don't really revisit it until this weirdo tag ending. But throughout the film, there's all these weird religious imagery, like the tree, the fountain of knowledge, and like Adam and Eve, but the Adam and Eve are the zombies. And do you know what I'm saying? Like there was just, so in this film, the zombies have evolved. Okay. And basically what's happened is that there appears to be hierarchical strata between the zombies. This is super weird. I don't know why they baked this in here, but they don't really explain it. But zombies obviously they can starve and they can die. That's how they, were able to survive the first two films, because they could just wait out the zombies dying. But now there's a weird strata where the rage zombies, who are not fast enough to catch animals or humans, they can now subsist off of worms, and they're big and fat and bloated. But then we realize that the zombies that can run fast have now become like this tribe where there is an alpha, like a leader zombie. And this leader zombie is like 7 feet tall and has a 12-inch swinging dick, which the movie is not ashamed to show us. I was just like, my God, put it away. Like, really. But he sort of commands all the other like minions and stuff like that. And so like this idea of them evolving now and having a language like is crazy. And as if that isn't enough, folks, it turns into an episode of Call the Zombie Midwife, when we learn that one of the zombies is actually pregnant, she presumably by Big Dong Alpha, and she gives birth to a baby, a fucking baby. I was like, what is happening? But this baby that gets born doesn't have the rage zombie in its eyes, or the zombie virus in its eyes. It's not a zombie, it's a carrier. And so the second film set up this idea of a carrier, somebody who has the virus, but isn't all ragey and crazy, right? And so in the second film, 28 weeks later, it's the mother who survives, and she can be a carrier, but then she hates her husband so much for leaving her that I forget what she does, but she basically she kisses him, and then he turns into the zombie, and then she has to die a second time while he eats her. Like, that scene in that film was the one that really got to me, where I was like, I want to die. I don't like this. But just the whole fact that like she has that baby, and then Jodie Comer gets very attached to the baby. Oh my God. It was like, whoa, where is this going to go?
Yeah. They've really gone big on the world building. I worry that people will get into this film and get down on it for plot holes or logical inconsistencies, because I can see them. They're there. I don't really care. Obviously, I talked about the slight retconning of the end of the second film. I mean, they live on an island with a causeway. I'm not quite sure why the zombies haven't found their way onto there yet. So I know they've got defenses and so on, but still.
Well, the one saw them and and so again, this is like, even though they're zombies, they learn from us like a society does. They learn from outsiders. They learn to pick up tricks that they see in other tribes or other clans. And there's one zombie that sees them running across the water. So it's like, I will run across the water too. And I was like, oh my God, like help.
This idea that some of them become these alphas. Yeah, that's all interesting. At first, and the baby thing is interesting too, because the baby is not infected, and then Ray Fiennes, the doctor character, just says the magic of the placenta, which actually makes sense. Because placentas do filter. It's got some dark implications, because they deliver the zombie lady sort of stops attacking them just long enough to give birth. She holds hands with Jodie Comer's character.
Oh my God, yeah.
Really amazing.
That was such an amazing scene.
Really cool.
And honestly, just the staging of it, like, okay. So Rob, you had said that you were afraid that people were going to watch the movie and then just concentrate on logical plot holes. I'm afraid people are going to watch the movie and be like, whoa, this is too highfalutin for me. I came for a zombie movie, right?
Yeah.
Because there's all of these issues, but now I'm going to go highfalutin. There are two particularly wonderfully staged scenes. The first scene is him and his mom are camping out in this like castle that looks like it's been bombed out or destroyed. And that's a perfect encapsulation about this whole like post-apocalyptic thing, just that imagery. And then the birth scene, again, I know I'm going highfalutin, folks, but if we think about evolution like a train, they're being chased through a train, folks. Like, you know what I mean? Like through the decades, through the years as we're evolving, and then it ends in the train and the roof is open and there's plants coming down from it. I was just like, bravo, motherfuckers. bravo for that kind of staging. And then the pregnancy happens. Like that's crazy. Now I want to know what happens to the kid that grows up. Are they gonna bully him and be like, zombie baby, zombie? I don't know.
I'm mainly angry.
So
I'll bite your head off.
right, exactly. But yeah, there's a lot of things that are thrown in here that aren't explained. Like, why did Ray Fiennes have to wear the iodine? I don't remember.
He said
He was like
it's a
the virus.
prophylactic. Yeah, he said if you get blood on your skin or something, it saves you getting infected.
Yes, got it. But why aren't we drinking iodine or making the zombies drink iodine? I don't know. Anyway,
yeah, you could probably pick holes in that. I mean, the other thing I wanted to mention that he has this bone temple that we've referenced. A couple of times.
yes.
I don't know if that's a specific reference to, but I went to Cambodia once, and it's not a fun thing. They obviously had the terrible genocide there when was it, the 70s and 80s, and you can go out to a place called Chung Ek, the killing fields, just outside.
Oh yes.
I went because I sort of felt like, well, I can't just be a tourist here. You should pay some sort of tribute to what's happened, right? That place, man, they have built there a huge tower out of skulls of all the people that have been slaughtered in these fields. They've dug them up and they've got this big glass structure. They've filled it up with skulls. I was thinking about it so much watching this.
Yeah.
All these sort of, it's the starkest memorial to, mass death and grief. And this sort of scar on humanity. And that's the thing, the concept of 28 Days Later and this whole story is, what if it's an existential threat, right? What if humanity just died around you? What is left? What are we? Okay, this family, but how do we hold on to what we had before? How can you possibly build a monument that does justice to, it's not a genocide in this case, it's a natural disaster, I guess. Well, not quite, because there's elements of genetic engineering or whatever, which we may get into, I don't know. We're ever going to find out what caused this, but this could be really big, you know what I mean? Is Alex Garland, has he written all three, or is he writing all three? Did he write the other film too that's coming?
I think he'll be writing the rest of them,
Yeah, hopefully. So I'd like to have a bit of faith in Garland to keep a handle on it somehow, but it's an ambitious undertaking, I think.
Garland does not like the concept of the alpha male, which, if you looked at all of his films, he does not like the concept of an alpha. He's very much against it. And this movie really does pound hard against the alpha. And, we as men have this feeling that we have to be this macho men. We have to be a certain type of way. We have to hold ourselves around. We have to have these big swinging dicks, literally. So his concept of these alpha males being, less than, honestly, they aren't what they are. Go back to Jimmy Savile, right? He was looked at as an alpha. He was looked at as this god. And again, there's so much going on in this film because we find out that there really isn't, the world isn't over. Everybody living in this quarantine part of the UK, they believe that the rest of the world is where they're at. But we find out with that one brilliant scene with the, was he from Sweden or?
Sweden, yeah.
Yeah, the army guy from Sweden.
Yeah, he shows up and all of a sudden we see that the world around us is still happening. Like shows his fiance and the guy's like, ooh, what's wrong with her lips? They're all cold.
He's like, I don't have plastic surgery.
Yeah, that's great.
Oh my God, that scene was hysterical.
There's so much going on. Like, it goes back to fathers. It goes back to what we're being told. It goes back to what is truth, what is real. And these people are living a life that is not reality. It is not what's really happening. They're living this sheltered life because of what the men around them are doing. Again, Garland doesn't like the alpha male.
It's so much to unpack, but it's interesting that you bring up that Alex Garland doesn't like the alpha male, and yet Alfie Williamson's character he continues his sort of journey or vision quest, and you have to presume like maybe he's looking for his identity. Like, am I an alpha male? Where's my place in society? But he knows that he's not going to get that just going back to the village. Like, and so that's why he chooses to stay and continue, moving on or just, walking through Kung Fu style through the zombie apocalypse. There's so much in this, but back to your point, Rob, about the sort of death tower, the Memento Mori monument. It's interesting that the character that creates it is a holdover from the past society. He is a learned man, a scientist. Somehow he's also figuring out science. I don't know how he's done that. I don't know. But it's interesting that he is the one who is making this monument, who has, decided this is how we're going to pay respect. Also, can I tell you, he whips up a mean, clean skull. That happened quick. Okay. When his mom passed away and they did that, I was like, wow, he cleaned that shit quick. And by the way, when the kid climbs up and he puts it on top of the tower or whatever, there's a shot of the tower later and the skull's not there. And I'm like, continuity error.
Oh, right. No, or maybe it just fell off. That's a bit.
Or maybe, exactly. Maybe it flew away.
You're supposed to glue it on, kid. Don't just put it up there. It's going to fall.
I know, right?
It was kind of funny when Ray Fiennes comes back and hands him the skull. The look on Alfie Williams' face, I half expected him to go, "What the fuck is this? Is it? It's just my mum.
It's your mom, dude."
Like he did,
right?
I wasn't quite sure if he knew what he was doing. She just walked off with him, and then he comes back with the skull.
I know, right? Like, I'm sorry. I think the Predator could tell you it takes longer to clean a skull than just a few hours. Anyway, did we miss anything? I think we covered everything.
Yeah, the big stuff, I think. Yeah.
Also, I have a question. So when Ralph Fiennes brings them to his place and they like cross the water and there's like this weird rope bridge, Ralph Fiennes says this keeps the infected out. And I'm like, is it the water or the rope bridge?
I did not understand that either.
Is it right? Like, are they like
Yeah.
gorillas? They don't cross running water. Like I was so confused.
I think you have to hold the bridge, and his concept was that if you watch the infected, they move kind of like
maybe
got Parkinson's, like they couldn't hold on.
Yes. Do it again, Mike. I want to see it again.
Oh yeah, I'm guessing that's what they were trying to show, is that they can't walk that bridge and it's really rickety and you have to hold on to it. And whenever you see the zombies, you can't see that they can hold and do tactile things, not like in Land of the Dead, the George Romero one where Bubba's shooting everybody.
Oh my God, yes. I love that sequel. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the Alpha could just, throw his dick across the river and then they could like
walk across.
Yes. Just got to get an erection here, then everyone can walk across. We're fine. It's a stable.
Done. Zombies rule the world. Are any other further thoughts?
For me,
Still a super watch for me. There's so, I think, further viewings of this. It actually lends itself to rewatches, I would say.
Oh yeah.
And there's a lot to unpack here. I'm curious for the sequels and I'm curious to dive in. So
that was my one other thing, actually. I was thinking that bit at the end, we talked about it. My attitude towards that is, I'm not sure I like it. Didn't ruin the film for me. It's like completely, the film is great.
Right.
But I'm kind of like, all right, Alex, I'll go with you. How are you going to explain this? And I'm withholding judgment until I see the next film. But I'm a little worried.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned earlier in the episode about how American series have like 22 episodes or like 13 episodes. Over in the UK, they have formats and it's just like 6 or 7 episodes, maybe even 3, right? Yeah. But yeah, a lot of times, the phrase is you wrote yourself into a corner.
Yeah.
I'm afraid Garland has done that. We'll just have to see, right?
Yeah.
We'll just have to see.
Hopefully not.
So, yeah. Rob, do you have a plus? That's a requirement. It's like Adventures in Babysitting.
I do.
You can't leave the stage without singing the blues. So, okay.
So my plus is, I'm not a gamer, really. I was sort of, I've kind of used to play a bit of PlayStation before when I was younger. I don't have time for it. But some friends of mine, Grandad and Mr. Tech, this is another podcast. They were just on our Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat episode. They told me of the existence of this console. It's called a Miyu, MIYOO. It's like the size of one of those old BlackBerry phones. The chunky ones.
Okay.
About that big. It cost me, what was it? So it was £28.
$69.
That sounds about right.
Oh no, wait, this is the Mayu Mini. The Mayu Mini Plus?
That's it.
Okay.
It's probably more expensive in the States because you probably got 100% tariffs on it or something like that at this point. Still cheap.
Big on the orange Mussolini. Yeah. So I'm looking at it. The Miu portable retro game console looks amazing.
Yeah. So I've got that with another friend of mine who was kind enough to give me a memory card with literally thousands of games. I've basically got every game on this thing up until I think PlayStation 1 and Sega and Nintendo and all those. It's amazing. And it's an exact replica of all these games that you can play.
So great.
At the moment, I've got choice paralysis. I'm like, okay, that's great. Which one am I going to play?
Oh my God. So it's like every time we go to watch Netflix, it's like we spend 40 minutes looking for something.
Yeah, exactly. And it's exacerbated by the fact that I'm not very good at computer games. So like I can't get past the first level. And the temptation to go, I'll just pick something else now. But I'm trying to focus on a couple of games. But yeah.
What have you been focusing on?
What is it? Three Ninjas Kickback is one that I chose at random, and another one called Ninja. It's all ninjas. Ninjas are big in computer games.
Nice.
Ninja Warriors. I think I've made it up to level 5 on that, so I'm making some progress. But
excellent.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I haven't even delved into stuff like Resident Evil and Tomb Raider. It's all that sort of stuff is on there. Quite amazing.
Very cool. So stateside, I believe the website is officialmiumini.com. And so it's MIYOO mini.com, official Mayo. It says, I don't know what any of this stuff means. Maybe Ray Fiennes can tell me what it means, but ARM Cortex A7 dual core 1.2 gigahertz CPU.
I'm in. Amazing.
Okay. It's got a 3.5 inch IPS screen. It's lightweight and durable, 162 grams. Rich, engaging gameplay is what it says here. Long-lasting battery life, up to 5 hours of play. And it literally says 2,500 plus games.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. Awesome. And it'll only set you back $69. Okay. Tell the alpha $69.
He could manage that easy.
Oh, could he?
3.5 inches. That's nothing.
3.5 inches. Alpha says, "Hold my zombie baby."
Hold my beer. That's not a beer.
Mike, you got a plus from your vacation. What do you got?
Before I went on vacation, we went and took the kids to see How to Train Your Dragon.
There you go. Excellent.
Remake. Dean Du Bois, man, this guy is literally like his whole life has just been sucked into the dragon world. At least the last 15 years. This is his fourth. I mean, he remade the first, but this is his fourth time in this world. And gosh darn it, if this wasn't awesome! I really enjoyed the How to Train Your Dragon remake, and we actually just last night we watched the original, and my kids really liked the remake more.
Nice.
The older animation, I didn't realize it almost kind of looks like Jimmy Neutron. It's watching it now on Blu-ray. The 2010 version really does not age very well. The animation, the second and third film, the animation style goes way up. The money went up on it. It looks way different. The first one kind of is pretty archaic looking, but the storytelling is there. Everything you need to be is there. And then they fix a lot of the stuff. They fix a lot of things that I had issues with in this. And the ending is like a kaiju movie. Like that ending, really putting that into live action. Gosh, that was awesome. I feel
totally
thinking of it. That was the whole kaiju ending. Again, if there's a mistake here, it's that it's too much like the original. I mean, I think it's almost like the Psycho
shot for shot. Yeah, it's shot for shot.
But it's not, because they add a lot of dialogue. They add more scenes of flying. I mean, it's 30 minutes more. There's a lot more going on, but this film takes the time to build that world. And I'm excited to see what he does. I'm hoping we don't get a sequel that's shot for shot to the second film. And I really like this. So I'm excited to see what happens from it. What about you? You saw it too, Cupcake, right?
I did see it. Dean DeBloy, kind of on a roll because he and Chris Sanders were behind Lilo and Stitch, right? When I went back to look at Lilo and Stitch, the original, the animation was not what I remembered. And it also felt a little weirdly dated or what have you. But I did see it. It's great. Mason Timms, he's going to be the next Tom Cruise or Tom Holland. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
He's so good. And if you guys have not seen it, I saw the Netflix preview before it streamed officially of a sex comedy called Incoming that he's in, and it's so funny. Please watch that on Netflix. Incoming. It's like Superbad meets Porky's. It's as ribald as you think. It's fantastic. Nico Parker. Did you guys know this is Tandiwa Newton's daughter?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was like, why does she look like Tandiwa Newton? And I'm like, oh my God, it's because it's her daughter or whatever. And then of course, Gerard Butler, resumes his role. Nick Frost, who I adore. I loved his character in this.
Yeah.
My only issue with this, I have two issues with this live action film. One, Toothless is not as expressive as the cartoon Toothless, but what can you do, right? But then I'm like, wait a minute, it's still a CGI. So what happened?
Must be a choice.
Yeah, I guess it was a choice. And then the other thing is I think Julian Dennison, as much as I love him, he sticks out like a sore thumb in this. I just think he was miscast. And I'm not body shaming, but he just looked so odd in his furs. He just looked like this big round tennis ball with a head. It was very odd. I saw it in 3D, by the way. The 3D was totally worth it. Absolutely worth it. But yeah, I think you're right. It's a little maybe too much like the original. But hey, it can't all be like Lilo and Stitch and make everybody crazy. So there you go. Okay, that was awesome. Thank you so much, Rob, for joining us.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I can't wait to have you back. I can't wait to have you back. This is your first time. You were a great guest. Amazing. Yeah. Where can our audience find Caliber 9 from Outer Space, and what do you have going on recently or upcoming?
So Caliber 9 from Outer Space, you can find it on all the normal podcatchers, Apple, Spotify, so on. I think it's on most of them at this point. I don't think we're on YouTube. If we are, I don't know how it got there because I don't put it up there.
Right.
So we have just dropped our episode on Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat next Friday. So it'll be the coming Friday, I think, when this one posts. We are doing a big one. We're chalking off Dario Argento's Suspiria. And we are pairing that. This is just a bizarre double feature. Thunderbirds Are Go from 1966.
Yes. Wait, the actual marionette one?
The marionettes, yeah. The classic Gary Anderson marionette one. So we put those two together. That was chosen by our special guest for next episode is Charlie Adler, who is a really well-known comic book artist. He used to do all the art for the Walking Dead comics. And he's a huge movie fan, so he comes on our show from time to time, so we have a great time talking about.
That is so cool. Wait, how do you spell his ad?
Charlie, Adlard.
That is so cool. That's a great guest. Man.
Yeah.
Mike, how do we get some cool guests? Just kidding. Like, you're not a cool guest, Rob. You are a cool guest.
I'm right here. No, we do have some other cool guests coming on soon, I hope. Can we announce that yet? A sort of Watch Skip Plus guest slot coming up pretty soon, so keep an eye out for that too. So come on board and check us out. We just basically talk about a couple of movies, have a bit of a laugh about them, and there's not much format. We are very strongly influenced by Gentleman's Guide to Midnight Cinema, who are our podfathers as well as yours. So we are
excellent.
We are like pod siblings, really, aren't we?
Yeah,
we are. Think about it.
I know that's right. Half brothers? No, actual siblings. And that's a great segue. If you love us, you'll certainly love our Podfathers, Gentleman's Guide to Midnight Cinema, as well as Not a Bomb with Troy and Brad. Also, we've got Night of the Living podcast, Wild Dream podcast, Death by DVD, Raiders of the Podcast. Backlook Cinema with Zoe, and now for something a little bit different, our YouTube brother, John Horgan, who I believe will be guesting on our show next week. Yay. And then I will be guesting. We're finally doing Jeff Bridges' film, Fearless, which I think is a very underrated and very little seen film, but it's some of Jeff's best work. And then, of course, Caliber 9 from Outer Space, Feminine Critique, Talk Without Rhythm with Goro. Mike, parting thoughts?
I don't know. I'm sitting here in darkness. Anyways, love your family. Get out there, go to the film, go see film, go out there, see concerts, get out there and enjoy life. It's summer.
Yeah, save exhibition, support physical media. Please don't take my you can pry my Blu-rays from my dead, cold rage zombie hands. And as always, everyone, be kind, be open, be vulnerable. That's where the art is. Thanks, everybody. Thank you so much, Rob. That was amazing.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.
Good.
Thanks so much.
Good.
That was brilliant.
Yeah.
Honor. Such an honor to come on. Thank you so much for the invite. Really
Yeah,
good.
you were a great guest. I love it.
Oh, great.